It was a hot, sticky afternoon when I noticed something unusual in my backyard. My shed, which I had built months earlier with every necessary permit and HOA approval, had been tampered with. The lock was slightly pried open, and there were footprints leading away from it. My heart sank. Karen had struck again. I grabbed my phone and called the local police, explaining the situation calmly. Within 20 minutes, 2 officers arrived, and I walked them through the scene. "The shed has been broken into," I said, gesturing at the lock. "All the structures are mine, approved, and documented, but someone attempted to gain unauthorized access." Karen, predictably, appeared shortly after. She was peeking over the fence, hands on her hips, wearing a self-satisfied smirk. "I saw him with no supervision. Who knows what he's hiding in there? You need to inspect it immediately." The officer gave her a stern look. "Ma'am, do you have any evidence of wrongdoing?" She faltered. "Well, you see." I shook my head. "Officer, everything in that shed belongs to me. I have receipts for the tools, the mower, the garden equipment. I even have security footage showing that no one entered the shed except me and approved maintenance workers." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Do you have that footage?" I pulled out my tablet and showed them a time-stamped recording of the shed from the last several days. The footage clearly showed Karen sneaking around the edge of my property, apparently attempting to tamper with the lock. One clip even showed her standing there, inspecting the shed while muttering to herself. Karen's face turned red. That's doctored. You can't trust that." The officer looked at her calmly. "Ma'am, this footage is time-stamped and unaltered. Your actions constitute attempted trespassing and tampering with private property. If this happens again, you could be arrested." Karen sputtered, but she had no leg to stand on. She stormed off, muttering about imaginary fines and alleged violations. After the officers left, I realized the situation was still precarious. Karen might come back, and I needed to ensure my property and my peace of mind was secure. I decided to take a preventative measure. I installed motion-activated sprinklers around the shed and set up extra cameras with night vision. The following week, Karen attempted her usual patrol near my yard. She approached the shed again, probably hoping to find another excuse to call 911. But as soon as she stepped into the sprinklers' range, they triggered, dousing her in a sudden torrent of water. She screamed and slipped backward, landing in a small patch of mud. I stepped onto the porch, arms crossed, and called out, "Karen, I suggest you stay off my property from now on. You're trespassing, and I have evidence to prove it." Her face was a mix of rage and humiliation as she scrambled to her feet. "This isn't over," she shouted, before retreating in a flurry of mud and wet clothes. Later, I submitted an official complaint to the HOA with photos and videos documenting Karen's attempted break-in and the sprinkler incident. The HOA formally warned her about trespassing and harassment, making it clear that any further incidents could lead to suspension or fines. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood about Karen's misadventures. People were laughing about how she had been soaked by my new automatic security system, and how her obsession with policing everyone else's property had backfired spectacularly. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of calm in my backyard. My shed was safe, my equipment secure, and Karen had learned, albeit painfully, that my property was off-limits. I even joked with a neighbor about turning the sprinklers into an anti-Karen system, and we both laughed heartily. This incident reinforced a valuable lesson. Preparedness, documentation, and a little ingenuity can turn even the most aggressive and entitled neighbor into a harmless figure of amusement. Karen had tried to break into my shed, but in the end, it was her own actions that exposed her for the meddling, overzealous HOA tyrant that she truly was. And as I closed the shed door and looked around my yard, I finally felt a long-awaited sense of victory and peace.